Welcome to the December the 3rd, 1996 taping of It Happened in Grand Prairie. As we bring you the history of our city, some of the people that have been very, very important to those happenings, and also they're continuing to make history in Grand Prairie, Texas this very day. We have a very illustrious family that we're going to talk about today. Some of the members of the family that we're going to talk about are not here today, but this is a salute to the John Thorne family, and we're very pleased to have at least 3 of his beautiful daughters with us today that are going to talk about the family and bring us up to date and maybe even give us some wonderful happenings that have happened to them. First of all, we have Polly Thorne Flory, the judge for teen court.
Ruthie, thank you so much for having me here today.
Welcome to the set.
Thank you.
We're glad to have you.
My pleasure.
And Sally Thorne Bond.
Thank you,
We're
Ruthie.
just very excited to have you back after only an absence of maybe a week for an interview for your very important role with the Winter Court.
It's always a pleasure.
Yes. And Jody Thorne Morris, one of my favorite brownie makers in the whole world.
Thank you, Ruthie.
Welcome to the set.
Thanks.
It's
Good to
great.
be back.
Glad to have you all with us today. All right, with your permission, we're going to start with the genealogy. And I believe we voted here before they turned the cameras on that Jody was going to tell us a little bit about some of the family because we've reviewed and we've named a few. If we forget a few, they'll forgive us, won't they? And this is your camera right out a little bit to the left. And Jody, your family, the John Thorne family, I understand, came to Grand Prairie, Texas in about the 1950s. Is that right?
That is correct.
That is correct. All
Daddy came
right.
down to continue his law schooling at SMU.
All right.
He had been at Duke and came down and graduated from SMU and went into law practice here.
That's great. And settled in, I believe, on Main Street in uptown Grand Prairie, near the Uptown Theater, right?
And then moved over to College Street, right across from Joe Gremlin's office, which
All
is
right.
now TU Electric.
Yes.
And then moved to our present office in 1971.
Yes.
There on Carrier Parkway.
And you just celebrated your 25th anniversary at your Carrier Parkway building, right?
Had a fabulous party.
Y'all had a big party. I knew y'all would have a party if you just had a reason to celebrate, right? Jody, would you talk about Lois's parents, what you know of them, some names, so that we can get that into the record, the Torberts?
Mom's dad was John Alvin Torbert. I can't remember her mother's name at the present time.
We're going to call her Granny.
Yeah.
Yes, that's a good name.
Yes.
All righty, and your dad's parents?
George Lewis Thorne and Hannah Paulson Thorne. They were both out of Minnesota, originating out of Norway.
And I believe the Torberts were from down in the Louisiana area. Isn't that exciting to bring that far apart from the United States and get those 2 wonderful parents together?
Well, Daddy always said that he put a bottle in the Mississippi. And it came from Minnesota all the way down to Louisiana, and that's how they met.
That's how they met. Oh,
Actually, they met while they were in the service on a train ride.
Oh, they did, yes. And your dad was in the service.
They both were.
They both were. Oh, that is great. And they married, and now we're going to get to Miss Polly, and she's going to give us all of the members of the family, the siblings, all of your siblings, if you would give us a record of those so we can establish that before we get into personal interviews with the 3 of you.
Absolutely. Our oldest brother is Brent Thorne. Next comes Kim Thorne, and then Hal Thorne, John Thorne Jr. The oldest girl is Kathy Cooper. Next comes Jody Morris, then Connie Cook, Sally, and myself. I'm the baby.
And you are the baby, but you're getting to be the mother sort of today, aren't you? Okay. I want to get these in order.
I'm number 9.
You're number 9. That is a good number.
I think so.
That was
Save the best for last.
That is it.
Yeah, that's debatable.
Oh, yes, I tell you, with 2 attorneys sitting on here, we don't have not even a Chinaman's chance, do we? No way do we. Okay, now that we have all of the family, how many of the family live in Grand Prairie, Texas?
Well, Ruthie, just about everyone lives here in Grand Prairie. My sister Kathy lives out in Colleyville with her family. She has 4 beautiful children and a lovely husband. They just bought a new home over in Colleyville, but everyone else lives locally here in Grand Prairie.
All right, could you name her husband and the children?
It's Kathy, and her husband is Greg Cooper. The children are Alicia Amy, Clint, and Dusty Cooper.
All right, all right. Does anyone else want to name any of the other girls? Let's talk about the girls today, and we're going to let the boys talk about the boys, because they're going to be on the show in a couple of weeks, okay?
That'll work.
All right. Jody, we've got to talk about your precious children. Oh, yes.
3 children. Michelle is a sophomore in high school. She attends
That is
Grand Prairie
not
High.
possible, is it?
It is.
Sophomore
It
at
truly
Grand
is.
Prairie High School. Beautiful Michelle.
She's just loving it.
Yes.
Playing basketball and AB honor roll.
Okay.
She's doing excellent. John is in 5th grade at Immaculate Conception, and he's playing basketball for the team there.
Yes.
Goes back to the days when Daddy coached us when we were all at Immaculate Conception.
Yes.
And Daniel is in kindergarten at Immaculate Conception.
And that keeps you busy in the PTO that's there at Immaculate Conception. And you're always hustling money for the school. Every time we look around and you have a fundraiser, you're on this show, or you send someone. Isn't that wonderful?
They're fundraisers.
They're
Working to raise
fundraisers.
funds.
Yes, you've got to do that.
Have fun, have fun.
Oh, that is great.
Yeah.
And do you have any testimonies to give about the wonder of that school, since a lot of your family attended there and now you've brought your children, you have another generation?
Kim started the school. When the school started, Kim was in the kindergarten class. So my brother Kim was there with the start of the school.
All
and he
right.
went all the way through it. And I've got my children attending there, and my sister Connie's children also attend.
Okay, let's
The
talk
school
about
there.
Connie. Who's going to tell about Connie and her children?
I'll be happy to.
All right, why don't you do that?
Connie's married to Randy Cook. He's a CPA here in Grand Prairie on North Carrier Parkway. And they have 2 children, Forrest and Hannah. And both Forrest and Hannah attend Immaculate Conception as well.
Oh, that is great. You know, y'all are the real supporters of that wonderful, wonderful school.
Yes.
I know that I was there recently to present a certificate to the pastor there. And it was exciting to be there and to see all the boys and girls. And when I went into the front, I didn't know that the rector house was down at the end of the block, and I went into the school. But I had everyone so gracious, helping and trying to get me in the right direction. Okay, let's get on down to, we have Connie's children and Jody's children, and Sally and Polly, y'all don't have children yet, but we're working on all of that for you all, aren't we?
Yes, ma'am.
Wonderful, wonderful.
I'm glad you're working on that.
Yes, we're saying a prayer every now and then. You know that your father, John, and let's talk about your father, John, because he was very special to Grand Prairie, Texas. He was president of the Chamber of Commerce. We have his picture on the wall. He was also so involved in many things, but my association with him began when he was the chairman of membership for civil defense back in the dark ages, when disaster defense and whatever they call it now was really civil defense. And he put his foot down on all of us and made us really toe the mark, because we never knew when we were going to be called, and that was before the city took charge of the civil defense and disaster defense and the new names that they call it now, where city people are involved. So let's show and tell about his picture, shall we?
Absolutely.
All right. Who wants to talk about John first?
Well, I'd be happy to. You know, you mentioned him being past president of the Chamber of Commerce. That's especially, I hold a lot of pride in that, because I'm the president-elect of the Chamber
Yes.
of Commerce. So
Yes.
that's a very special position for me to hold in his footsteps.
Yes.
This is a picture of Daddy when he was on the cover of Time magazine, and this was back after the Kennedy assassination here in Dallas. He was counsel for Marina Oswald for some time.
The
Yes.
interesting thing about this picture is that prior to this cover, Time had never used a photograph as their
Yes.
cover. It had always been an artist's rendition
So
of
they had a
whatever event.
real photograph
This
of
was
the
a real
play?
photograph, because the person back over here is actually a Time executive.
Yes, for the very first time.
The very
And
first time they
that's
used
a
a
very
photo on a
exciting
cover.
thing. And John was an attorney, local attorney here in town, and involved in everything. And what is the year of his demise?
1981.
1981, so we're going to put 1981. That doesn't seem possible that it's been that many years since we lost him. But now, who's going to talk about the matriarch of this family? Miss Lois, that couldn't be with us here today, was scheduled to be with us and was unavoidably detained. So who's going to talk about pretty Miss Lois?
I'd be happy to. That's another person whose footsteps are so hard to follow in. You talk about all our different backgrounds and coming from New Orleans, well, she cooks great New Orleans food.
Yes.
She can cook any kind of food. Raising 9 children, she's just done a spectacular job. She keeps our whole office together, keeps everything running for us down there at the office. She comes into work every day, works more hours than I do. I hate to admit that, but
Yes.
she keeps everything going for us.
And not only that, I get a phone call from her and she will say, Ruthie, I need a painting or something for the DFW Foundation. We're going to have a silent auction. She's out following in Jody's footsteps, raising funds for wonderful things, and isn't that great?
She's very active in many organizations in town.
And she's always so gracious. You would think she's the First Lady of Britain or something because she carries herself in that manner and is always so distinguished.
This morning I went into Grand Prairie Hardware to pick up some things, and the woman there said, "Oh, hi, Lois," and then she came around the counter and she says, "Oh, you're not Lois," and I said, "No, I'm not, but I'm here looking for some things for Lois." And when I went back to the office to tell Mom that, she said, "Oh, and that doesn't bother you that somebody thinks you're me?" And I said, "No."
Yes,
a compliment.
that's a compliment. Yes, that is certainly a compliment. All right, now let's talk about the 3 girls. We want to get down to you all, to the nuts and bolts. Jody, I guess you're the reigning member of this, since I believe you have a little age on these 2. Tell us about, after you left Immaculate Conception, then you went to Grand Prairie High School.
No, I went to Bishop Dunn.
Bishop
I was
Dunn.
the last one to graduate from Bishop Dunn. My sister Connie behind me went to
All right, let's
Grand Prairie High.
talk about Immaculate Conception when you were there. Were there favorite teachers there, some of the sisters that really put you on the right track, that encouraged you to study or encouraged you in sports? Or is there anyone that you'd like to put on this historic
Well, Daddy
record?
was the sportsman there. Daddy was
Yes.
the one that coached all of the sporting events. So he was my coach all through that and all through high school also. I didn't play the high school teams, I played the church teams, the CYO teams.
Yes.
Of course, then I was able to go on to college and play college ball.
All right, now
due to all
when
that,
you got
but-
over to Bishop Dunn, that's far a piece from Grand Prairie, Texas. Were there special teachers that really encouraged you there?
Ruthie, just the
Just got
overall
you through
aura.
school.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
got you through school.
Just
Isn't that
worked
wonderful?
hard and did well.
All right, and after Bishop Dunn,
University of Texas at Austin.
University of Texas at Austin. Was that by choice, or did your dad just send you there?
Oh, it was by choice.
That was by choice. He didn't
yeah.
send you to SMU like he went.
No.
Yes,
no.
yes.
No.
And going to the University of Texas at Austin, being that far from home,
It was great.
it was wonderful. And your favorite subjects?
Well, I was a business graduate.
Business
Graduated with a
grad.
BBA. And played basketball. Played the collegiate ball the whole time I was there.
Oh, you did.
Daddy and Kim would come down and watch the games ever so often.
And that's in basketball, because we didn't have
Travel around.
volleyball very much in colleges at that time, did
Right,
we?
no.
All
no.
right, okay. And then come back to Grand Prairie, Texas, and married and have this wonderful, beautiful family. You haven't mentioned Mr. Morris at all, how important he is to your life.
Well, yeah, Pat and I got married 7 years ago or so.
Yes?
Can't remember exactly when we just celebrated an
Yes.
anniversary. But we actually, he came to Grand Prairie when we were in 6th grade. So we went through the same grades together, but we were never together and never
Yes.
viewed each other as potential dating
Yes.
partners. But
Yes,
several years ago, we just connected, and yeah, it's just great.
Wonderful
Sis-
young man. Great. All right, let's get then down to pretty Miss Sally. Sally, tell us about your young man, Mr. Bond.
Oh, I've got a wonderful new husband. We were married September 1st of this year in Las Vegas. His name is Curtis Bond. He's an avionics technician with
Yes.
Delta Airlines.
Okay. And when you were back at Immaculate Conception, I know there must have been someone that was a real mentor to you.
Well, my first grade teacher was Sister Jude, I believe was her name.
Yes.
And she was always a favorite of mine. Of course, every teacher is so memorable. It was
Yeah.
such a wonderful school, and all the experiences we had there are great. But I'd have to say Sister Jude was my favorite.
All right. Did your dad coach you in any of the athletics?
Oh, and everything. We had basketball, softball, baseball, football. Of course, I didn't play football, but
Yes.
he was in charge of the entire athletic program
Sports.
there.
Isn't that wonderful?
Oh, it's
That he would
amazing.
give that much time.
He gave a lot of time to that school and to the community, and he was notorious for that.
Yes. Oh, that is great. And after Immaculate Conception?
After Immaculate Conception, I went on to Adams Junior High. God, again, so many favorite teachers. It's hard to pick one, but I'd have to say Mrs. Adams.
Yes.
She was a wonderful teacher over there. Then I went on to Grand Prairie High School.
All right.
From Grand Prairie High School, I graduated in...
Well, let's don't get past Grand Prairie High
Oh, okay.
School. Let's see what happened to Miss Sally at Grand Prairie High School. I know that you were an outstanding, beautiful young lady. Were there any special interest at Grand Prairie High School or teachers?
Of course, I can't remember her name, but my Spanish teacher was always wonderful.
Okay.
Miss Gomez?
I don't think it was Miss Gomez. I think it was whoever was before her.
Okay.
But I loved my Spanish teacher. I always enjoyed Spanish.
Yes.
I can't speak a word of it now, but
Yes.
I played basketball in high school.
Oh, you did?
And enjoyed sports. I did track a little bit, ran track a little.
And that was your favorite time at Grand Prairie High School, was when you were able to get out of there?
That was one of them.
And from Grand Prairie High School, where?
I went on to Austin College in Sherman. Spent 4 years down there in Sherman.
All right.
And went on to get my law degree at St. Mary's University in San Antonio.
Okay. But back to Austin. Favorite professors? Anyone that gave you the sights to go from one career to another and decide on law? Or when you left Grand Prairie, Texas, you knew that you were going to study law?
Well, Ruthie, I think it all goes back to, I'd have to say to my father for all of that. There was
Yeah.
never any doubt in my mind what I was going to do. From the day I was a young child, I always knew that I'd be a lawyer. There was just, he set such an example for all of us, which is why 5 of his children are lawyers.
And then to San Antonio, your time in San Antonio in law school, was that tough or easy or what?
Well, the worst part about that was that Fiesta was always during exams. So you couldn't go to Fiesta.
Yes.
But I enjoyed going, I loved San Antonio. I enjoyed going back now. For the first several years after I graduated, I went down to Fiesta every year.
Yes. And from there, then you've already come back to Grand Prairie, Texas. Did you do anything other than go into your family's law practice?
No, I went straight into practice with Thorn & Thorn here in Grand Prairie. I've been with them for 10 years now. I couldn't imagine doing anything else. A lot of people ask, how can you work with your family? But I couldn't imagine not working with my family.
And what area of interest in law do you practice?
The majority of my business is in the domestic relations area.
That's good. That's the reason she's going to be such a good mother when we get a baby here, isn't it?
That's
All
right.
right. Now let's talk to pretty Miss Polly. Polly, you've had a distinguished service. Tell us about Immaculate Conception and then where. And any teacher that was real great for you.
Well, I'd have to admit it would be Sister Regina.
Yes.
And she just celebrated, I believe, 80 years teaching at the school.
Mercy, isn't that
And
fantastic?
she's still teaching. She's an amazing
years teaching.
lady.
Yes, she is. And then from Immaculate Conception, did you play any of the sports?
Well, my dad coached me in basketball all through school.
All
I
right.
played on the church league, the CYO team as well.
All right. Were you outstanding? Did you get a scholarship on that or on your brainy academics?
Well, I went to Adams Middle School and then on to Grand Prairie High School.
Don't stop. Let's stop at Adams.
I've got to mention Mr. Morton, and I know he just retired from being principal at Austin.
Yes.
But I've got to mention him as one of my most favorite teachers at Adams Middle
Yes,
School.
he-
He was my history teacher, as a matter of
Yes,
fact.
he's a splendid young man. I saw him in the procession this last weekend when they celebrated the 50th anniversary of the Episcopal Church there on Hill Street. Yes, St. Andrew's. And he was part of the choir, and isn't that wonderful? Very fine young man.
Got to agree with you.
All righty, and then from Adams.
Grand Prairie High School, and one of the most memorable teachers I had there was Jean Ray Price. She was the drama teacher.
Yes.
And I was never in the acting end of drama, but I was in the management end of it, as far as the programs and timing and scheduling of events and things of that nature.
Did you play any sports at Grand Prairie High School?
I did track at Grand Prairie High, and then I was on the drill team my senior year.
Oh, yes, yes. And all of the football games and going out on the buses and all this good stuff.
Yes, ma'am. I
Yes.
enjoyed it all.
Do you remember the principal at Grand Prairie High School when you graduated?
I never saw him.
Isn't that great? Isn't that wonderful?
Unlike Sally, she could tell you who it was when she was there, I'm sure.
I'm sure Sally could tell us.
I never
because-
had any personal visits with the principal,
I
so
didn't
I
know
don't
they were
remember.
telling stories.
I don't know who I couldn't tell you, Ruthie. I'm sure if you mentioned his name, I'd know, but
Probably. All right, but after Grand Prairie High School,
I also went to Austin College, which is located up north in Sherman, Texas.
Yes,
And I spent 3 years at Austin College, and then went on to law school in Austin at the University of Texas.
University of Texas. And y'all have just had such a varied law experience, and then after you got out of law school at University of Texas at Austin, then where did Polly go?
Well, while I was in law school, I was a clerk for the Attorney General down in Austin. And so after law school, I went into government service with the City of Dallas. I was in their prosecution division with the City of Dallas for a time. And then I moved to Thorn & Thorn, where I remain today.
Okay, and when you were in Dallas, was that an exciting experience to be in a big city after your experience there with the Attorney General in Austin?
It was a very good experience and very exciting. I was in the prosecution division, and at time I was serving on night court, so I was the prosecutor for the night court sessions that we'd have downtown Dallas, down at the municipal building. And quite an interesting atmosphere down there at nighttime.
And your area of interest in law then?
Today I'm concentrating in real estate and business transactions.
Yes.
And I do a little bit of criminal work as well.
Yes, and Jody fits right in that with that business experience. You can call on a sister, can't you?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Great source of information for me.
And then you're doing a night court, not in Dallas anymore, but here in Grand Prairie, Texas, as our volunteer of the world, as our judge for teen court.
I couldn't be more proud to be the judge of the Grand Prairie Teen Court.
Is that a fun thing?
It's very fun and fulfilling at the same time.
Yes, that is just really wonderful. All right, is there anything that you would like to say to the young people in our viewing audience to encourage them in seeking a career? Just any encouragement that you could give to young folks today.
I would like to say you need to remain focused. There's plenty of time to have fun and enjoy life while at the same time remaining focused on your goal. That's the most important thing in today's society because there's so many distractions out there.
All right, you're giving service in that area through the teen court. Then we're going to have to get back to Miss Sally and let her testify a little bit, because as incoming president next year, or president-elect of the Chamber of Commerce, she'll have all of the businesses, both large and small, and a board of 30 volunteers plus to work with, plus the mayor, plus the city manager, the school superintendent. Isn't she going to be a wonderful leader?
I believe so.
Just encourage any young people that you know of that you can do two things at one time. You can chew gum and walk at the same time and all of this good stuff. Would you do that pretty much?
You can do a lot of things at the same time. I think Polly's got a good point there. It's very important to stay focused, also to get an education. And education is just so invaluable. Another thing it's important to remember is to give back to your community. Community provides a living for each of us, and I think it's important to volunteer some time back to your community.
All right, Jody, parent of the world with 3 darling children, would you like to just look out and encourage the parents and how much support the boys and girls need during these times, and encourage them any way you could?
Just in any way possible, be a part of your children's lives. Go to their sporting events, help them with their homeworks, check their work every day. I think that's what's very important. Be a part of their lives. Let them know that you're there.
You're the only one on the dais that works full-time with children. How do you manage your life?
Organized.
You're organized. And still have time to make brownies for the mistletoe ball, and to make aprons and give away things for the women's division of the Chamber of Commerce, and belong to certain organizations. You still are involved with the school at Immaculate Conception.
But those are things that I can do with the children right there.
Yes.
All
She's the Martha Stewart of Grand Prairie, isn't she?
Yes, she is. Don't you think we ought to vote her the Martha Stewart of Grand Prairie, Texas?
Heavens.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's just wonderful. Well, I need to see how much time we have left so we can spend some more. We have 4 minutes to spend some more stories. Isn't that going to be, if I get into the real depths of this interview?
In 4 minutes.
Do you think you can handle 4 minutes, Jody?
Oh, goodness.
Well, let's get back to Polly. Let's let Polly testify a little bit about her teen court, about the most interesting case, maybe without divulging any names or anything, that you have presided over since you've been the teen court judge.
Well, the most unfortunate case that I've heard so far is that 2 youths who were just bored, sitting at home one afternoon, decided to go out and light fires for fun. Just shocking to me that that's what they decided to do for fun. And no structures or humans were harmed in any way,
Yes.
but land was damaged. Several different patches of land were damaged just because they were bored and wanted to light fires. It's a really sad statement about the youth and their home environment, I suppose. But they received adequate punishment from the teen jurors. Their peers did punish them severely because they recognized that this was a very hurtful and potentially harmful action that they were undertaking. And so a jury of their peers punished them pretty severely, I must say.
That is wonderful. All right, let's get back to Miss Sally. Miss Sally, in a couple of minutes that we have left, if you are going to be president of the Chamber of Commerce, or what they call chairman of the board, I believe now, next year, what's going to be the focus of your administration, or are you going to just keep getting members and serving members?
Well, getting members and serving members is very important, and I think service is one of the key elements there. What can we provide to our membership? We want to do more than just take their money. We want to be able to provide a service back to them and give something back to the community at the same time. A Chamber of Commerce is very important for many reasons. One of the reasons, it's a central gathering place for the businesses to discuss issues that are important to them and to try to have their issues raised in the appropriate forums, whether that's a local government or state government. But it's a very vital part of any business.
In the final words that we're going to say, I want each one of you all to say something very, very nice about your parents, because this segment is dedicated to John and Lois Thorne, since she could not be here too. Who wants to be first?
We love you.
We look to the
Thank you. Thank you
Why
for us.
don't we start with Jody? Is there anything special you would like to say about your parents?
I think that they both invested their lives and their times in our life, in our lives. I mean, they both made us what we are today. I mean, we're happy with where we are and
Great.
believe in the value of hard work.
That's great. All right, Miss Sal?
Well, I don't know how I can top that. I don't often say, tell them how much we love them, but we do. We have wonderful memories.
All right. Miss
I
Polly?
can't imagine ever being in the position that Lois is in today. She's so active and she does so much for her family and for the community. And it just fills me with such pride to say she's my mom.
Yes. And that all of you all are patterning your lives after your sweet mom, right?
Absolutely.
Well, I want to thank y'all for sharing with us today and really covering for Lois, because y'all are a wonderful example of her life, an extended life, and I want to thank y'all for being here. It's a delight and a pleasure.
Thank you, Ruthie, again.
And we're just going to play like Lois is sitting right here in the middle of us, aren't we?
Thank you.
And this is Ruthie Jackson reminding you, and history is as we live and do.